This is a Cone '03 glaze firing. Um, I did a firing before this that I have a few pieces that were refires that are in here. Um, I actually bisque fired to Cone '03 and then glazed at '06, and I used commercial glazes. I used Mako, and it was the worst kiln opening I've ever done. It was horrible. Um, I decided not to upload the video mainly because it was really hot in here. And I filmed it in portrait mode instead of landscape, and it was a disaster. So it's very hot again. It's actually, the heat index is 112 degrees today here in northern Florida. But I had the AC on for a little while. I had to turn it off because it's noisy. But so if I can't talk, it's because it's hot. This is still a little warm. I think it's okay to start unloading. I'm going to do the refires. This clay is from Sheffield Pottery. It's called just their Sheffield clay body. It is quite vitreous at Cone '03, which is why I bisque fired to Cone '03, but you really can't get the glaze to adhere. So I mean, I don't know how potters do it. So I used commercial glazes, which were just painted on. So they were thick and they have gum solution. It was a horrible experience. Let me just say. Let's see if this comes off. All right. So this did refire. I don't like it at all. The colors are very drab. These are Mako foundations. I'm glad to see that it does hold up though to Cone '03, but because they recommend them for '06. Had I known that they would hold up, I probably would have done what I did this time. So what I did this time, aside from this refire, everything else in here was bisque fired to '06 and then glazed to '03. So it's kind of like it's the opposite of what I did the other time. So if that makes sense, but this Sheffield clay body is nice, but it it's not really the richest red. I guess they dig this clay themselves, this terracotta that they have, which probably is what they founded their company on years ago. The thing that happened last time, and it can be seen with this one maybe, it can be seen there. See how it's all bubbled? That's what happened in the first firing. Everything bubbled, which I didn't understand because it's a Mako clear glaze on top. And the thing is you shouldn't have any off gassing if you bisque fire higher than your glaze. So I don't know why it did that. The other thing was, this is a piece that I did not refire. You can see how milky that is. And that was a disaster seeing the milkiness. So it does look like it cleared it up, refiring it. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with this. It's just kind of sad looking. The colors just were so drab. They kind of, they were sort of washed out. The sheer fundamentals is what I used. And that's just for the refire part. I think, I don't know if that's the lid. There's two lids here. So I guess that goes with that maybe. But anyways, I think it's the other way. Still, it just, they're not, the fundamentals are not that sheer. I think because they use stains, stains are not going to fire clear or very translucent. They're kind of a milky, slightly opaque, which is why I don't really want to use stains. And I will explain what I did here in a minute. But this is all a refire, and it's still all bubbly. I don't know if you can see how cratered up that is inside. It's bubbles. I have no idea why it did that, but I like the effect that the fundamentals ran. That's kind of a nice effect. And the purple actually held up at '03, which is kind of good. No idea why it should bubble though. And it was, because it's stilted, the bottoms and everything. I absolutely hate glazing the bottom of the pots. I probably will never do it again. I don't like the way it looks. It kind of just cheapens it. It's very hard to stilt fire because they kind of like migrate off of the stilts. This was a clay body that I made it's like a low fire white type of clay body. It looks like it actually evened out. There's a piece of something in there that probably fell from the top. And I did like a sgraffito, and it's kind of too light, but it actually did refire well, and that's for smudging. It's a smudge bowl. I'm not going to take the stilts off. You really should use pliers for that. But it was bubbly on the inside, so it did smooth it out. I'm really trying not to use commercial glazes. All right, so now we're going to get into the stuff that's actually in here that I really intended to do. So I made clay bodies, first of all. I used up some of the clay bodies that I've been testing, because you have to buy 50 pounds of clay to test them, most of them anyway. This is EM106 by Laguna. It comes out, I've never fired it to 03, so it is darker. I like the way it looks a lot better, but this clay will warp and crack quite a bit, which is why I don't like it. It's a terracotta that fires up to about, I think cone 1, something like that is what most potters have said. Now Laguna doesn't say that. I think they just say 04. But this is it's a head planter. And I did a rutile wash on here, and the slip came out very thin. It's weird how that happens sometimes. And that goes together like that. It's a head planter that is 2 parts. I made it for myself because I was trying to use up what was left here. There's little shards of glaze, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. It's not from this pot. I put 04 cones in. I don't have 03s or 02s. I held this for 15 minutes, so it was soaked at 15 minutes. I'm assuming it got really close to 2,000 degrees. Cone 03 is in like 1987. So I really wanted to push the temperature a little bit to test the clay bodies that are in here to see if they could handle it. 04, they all need to be at least 04. That's why I only had the 04 cones. So I make sometimes what is called low fire porcelain or fritware. There's little shards of from this pot, if you can see that, pieces of the glaze shivered off. The fritware will max out at 03, and I put ilmenite in it, in the clay body itself, because I make the clay body. Anybody who wants that recipe, it's on Ceramic Arts Daily. And just put in fritware, and I think it'll come up. Now, in the past, when I've done it, the glazes have all crazed. This glaze I'm making, it is peat panel clear with cobalt. I think it's 2% cobalt. Now, the reason it looks all streaky is because fritware starts to vitrify like at a really low temperature. So I experimented with it, and I thought, well, I'm just going to try it and I'll paint on the glaze, but I probably would need to refire it. And it's recycled glass, and I have always had trouble with any type of glass besides those cheap like glass bead things, the glass rocks or whatever they're called, like you get in the craft stores. Those melt really well, but bottles, this was a spring water bottle plus I think it was a peanut butter jar. So they don't seem to melt the same way. And I've had this happen even in mid-range when I've done this. I don't melt glass a lot, but there's a lot of these little ring dishes in here. And that's the thing too, is you have to make sure customers know that this is not for food. I don't like the way this looks. I mean, it's very drab looking, but I like the clay body is nice. Because with the specks in it, it gives it kind of a more stoneware look. All right, so let me deal with this danger pot here. So this is a clay body that I make called Mariah. You can see how nice and dark red that is. The recipe I got from Studio Potters. It's like one of the mid 1980 editions. It's the earthenware edition. The recipe appears in there. I think maybe their ingredients back then were very different because this clay is so hard to use. It has something called plastic Vitrox in it. which is a feldspar that adds plasticity. So it's that, red art, and frit. It's beautiful, it's smooth, but it acts like porcelain. It actually is like stretchy, almost like pizza dough. It is very bizarre. Throws horribly, horribly. If it would be great for like small pieces. I think Kono 3 is too hot for it. I think it shrank a lot. The glaze came off right there. It shivered off. There's all these little shards I'm gonna have to clean up. Um, and then I glazed it with peat panel clear that had some tinting to it. I put on cobalt oxide. It's okay. I was going to keep it myself. It's supposed to be like a branch going around. The colors are weird. It's just the colors don't really go. But I have not fired these colors before. I'm pretty much going to need to put that like right in the trash because it's going to keep shivering. All right, so here are all some of the tests. There's a lot of testers in here. The clay body that I am most hopeful for is called Arbuckle Resolute Terracotta #3. Now that spells out art, which I didn't even know until I put that on here. Um, it is orangey at Kono 6 when I bisqued it, so it does look like a typical orangey terracotta. I changed the formulation slightly to include frit so that it tightened it up even more. This looks like stoneware. This looks like the perfect red stoneware. I'm actually shocked that it's as dark as this because I didn't think it would darken up. So Arbuckle, meaning Linda Arbuckle, who is known in the pottery world for a Mayolica decoration. You can find her videos on Ceramic Arts Daily, I think. I think there's even like DVDs you can buy. I'm not that interested in Mayolica. I might at some point, but the clay body itself is on her website. I think it was a handout that because she was, I don't know if she still is, a professor at the University of Florida in the ceramics. If you listen to Ben Carter for Red Clay Rambler, he talks about Linda Arbuckle quite a bit because I think she was a professor of his. So, anyways, that's where I got the recipe. So if you want the formulation for this clay, I can't really recommend it enough if you're going to do low fire. So here's why I'm doing this. I'm at the point now where I've tested so many clay bodies. You have to get 25 or 50 pounds. And most of them seem to be very warp prone and crack prone. I think it's because they basically make them for schools, you know? They basically make a cheaper clay body so that the schools will pay the cheaper price, and probably a difference of pennies makes a big difference to some of the schools. So I think like the EM 106, which is the Laguna one, that is a nice dense terracotta when fired, but it will warp and crack all the way through the drying process. So it's aggravating to say the least. So this Arbuckle Resolute Terracotta is dense, and I mean you would think that this is a Cone 5/6 red clay. So I'm really impressed with it. It throws beautifully. I can see it hand building. It has great plasticity. I'm doing this on a small scale. I'm wet mixing some of it. I have dry mix, so I'm trying to figure out how to do it. I do not have a pug mill. And by the way, this was white slip. I carved this out, waxed it, and then did a black underglaze wash. So the wax resisted it, and same thing on the back. So I do definitely want to do that on larger pieces. And that's peat panel clear on top. That all my clears in here besides those refires are now peat panel clear. So this is peat panel clear with black iron oxide in it. I think it's 4%. It will have a slight little bit of speckling to it. So this is really what I want to do. This entire firing has been like months and months in the making because I've had to mix all these. I mixed little batches of peat panel clear with colorants in it. This ran more than I would have thought, and I did get some crawling because the amber glaze, which is what you would call it, is a little too thick, and I thought it was, and I didn't do too much. There's a couple pieces that are fully dipped, so there might be a problem in here. I don't really like the way it looks on top of the let's call them celadons. It does wash out, and of course it'll shift the color. I like it, but I'm not sure if I would do this in particular. But I do like the amber. Um, I'm leaning toward not using it straight clear, but just a little bit of iron. So this is it, just clear, and I would like to do bonsai carving, and these are just tests. I wasn't trying to be too serious about the carving. So then underneath is probably several different greens. I'm not sure. I remember if I did that or not, but basically it has like 2% copper carbonate, or it might be a blue green, which is copper and a little bit of cobalt. It's too light, so I think I will have to really bump up the colorants, and you wouldn't really want to do that for the inside of a pot, just in case it would leach out. So this is, you can see this had some crawling because this amber is too thick. So when it layered over, so these are just the different colored glazes. I wanted to see what they look like, and they kind of don't really stand out with that amber. It's too intense for the colorants. So I also wanted to make a white out of peat panel clear. So all I did was add 8% Ultrox and 4% tin, and it is a beautiful white. I'm really happy with that. I didn't expect it to be that good. There's a book that I got recently, which is a Slipware book. That's actually what it recommended for the glaze that's in there. So that's how I came up with the 8% Ultrox, 4% tin. Beautiful on this, and I wanted to do some white on terracotta. So this is the Moriah clay body, which is an absolutely beautiful clay body with just clear on it. So it does make a good redware, but I don't recommend it. It's weird. So that's just a carving on the Moriah, because I wanted to see the different ones. I don't ever do a cone 03 glaze, so I had to get as much in here as I could. And the white on the Moriah, which is really nice. So I'm also using another Sheffield body, which is called 94600. They really know how to name their clay bodies, don't they? And it's a black earthenware, which is quite vitreous. It supposedly is totally vitrified at cone 2. Now the difference between cone 03 and cone 2 is not that much as far as temperature is concerned. So that's why I thought it's very vitrified. You can see how glassy it is in person. You can tell that it's quite vitrified. I don't know if I would want to do too much like bare outside of mugs or anything, but same carving idea. It carves differently because it has grog, so it's a rougher carve. Nice though, it's pretty good. It's difficult to work with because it doesn't have the plasticity that a lot of clay bodies have. They say that this black or dark brown is the clay material. They have not added manganese to it, so it does not stain. So there used to be darker clays available, which pretty much have been mined out. It was called Bernard slip or blackbird clay and all this stuff. I don't know what they're using because they don't sell the clay itself, the dry clay material. They only sell the prepared clay body that I can see anyway. So this is the same white, the peat panel with the opacifiers in it. And this was before I sieved it, so it has some like chunky bits in it. It's a little bit too, it actually looks like mid-range stoneware, how the white on black clay bodies ends up kind of getting eaten up a little bit. I don't like that look that much, but it actually did work. And then I just did another skull on, and that's on the Moriah, which is that really pretty smooth, it's just a smooth clay, but impossible to throw. So I have to clean that up, so I'll be right back. All right, so the next level has a couple different things. Hopefully this isn't gonna get confusing, but I also made a clay body called John Gill. who I don't know who he is, but that recipe appears on the same handout as the Arbuckle clay body. It's very similar looking. Um, this was dipped in the slip. By the way, the slip that I'm using is from a book that um, I'd have to get it and show it, but I don't want to give the recipe because it's a current book that's out, and I don't really want to infringe on that. So if anybody's interested in it, I can put it in the description. But this just has carving with this is peat panel clear, and it's the peat panel clear with copper. I think it has 3% copper carb in it. So it's not the right kind of green because it is more of a turquoise. I was really hoping for it to be more of a like a leaf green. I thought it would because they usually copper oxide is more of a turquoise. So I don't know. I'm not sure what I'll be doing to that. I like it though. I mean, it's fine. And the clay is nice. Um, there's really not that much difference between Arbuckle and the John Gill clay. Let me see if I have the two side by side. Arbuckle is darker. Apparently, this is the first time I've seen it at Kono 3. They throw very similar, real similar. So I think I had accidentally tested the white twice. That's what I did. Because I kind of lost track of it. There's so many testers in here, I was done. But this is the peat panel clear with cobalt in it. And it looks like I might have lost or maybe even forgotten to put any color on the white there in the flower. I don't know. It's actually not bad though. It's a little bit streakier than I thought it was going to be. This is blue green, so it's copper and cobalt, a very small amount of cobalt. The blue is nice. It's a little bit rougher though than I was hoping for, but it's good. It's good. So I'm happy with at least that. And this is the John Gill clay with the white painted on, and it has a really nice melt to it. So that actually came out really good. It's not as dark as the Arbuckle though. That's the only thing. So I made a larger batch of the Arbuckle than I'm currently using. I have to get more ingredients because I didn't have that much red art here. This is the Mariah clay with some of the colorants. This was all just about just carving, and this was a rutile version of the clear. So rutile is good, but it also it's like it gets lost very easily, and it doesn't do what you want it to do because it kind of like gets streaky and disappears. So I'm not sure what I'll do about that, and that's just another one. And I did some of the colorant tests on the back, and you can't really see much. They're numbered. I have no idea what they are at the moment. I'd have to look all that up and that kind of thing. So the blue and the green is always going to be your best bet because it they're strong carbonates, and iron also is good. I think this might be the iron one. I have two different iron ones. It's very blotchy though. I might try using the Mako foundations also. So this is Mariah clay this is a Mako glaze, and I wanted to see if it would hold up. It's all speckled. It's called foundations. I don't know. I'd have to get it now that something speckled. I forget, but has way too many speckles in it. It's like way overdone, and I just did foundations white on the inside. But it's not bad, and the lid's under here somewhere. So this is more of the Fritware, which has a really beautiful look to it. It's actually very nice. It's like 30% Frit though, so it's expensive to make. The glass, I think I'm going to end up refiring all these. The glass itself would hopefully melt, more to the edges. I don't like that look where it just looks like a blotch in the middle. It just doesn't melt well. I don't know. I don't know what to do about that. So one of the batches I put stains in it, and it's ugly. is ugly green. So that was an experiment. Don't like anything about it, so I don't know what I'm doing with that, but um, they're all this like, it was very light when I made it, and these are mason stains. I think it's Celadon is what's in here. Very dark green, doesn't look good. I was hoping for a lighter, more gentle looking green, but these all came out about the same. And there's a cone here. This is the 04 cone, which is very, um, you know, very melted. And this is just a thing to, so I can keep track of the clay. That's the John Gill clay. So let's check out the next. All right, it's a little bit hotter down here, so I might have to use some mitts here in a minute. More of these ugly green dishes. Not going to be doing that again. I thought maybe gray would be good, but I'm not going to do that. Clear. Now these were dipped in clear, and it actually did work. It's super thin, but it worked. And unfortunately, the glass melt is kind of, I guess it just needs to be more. Usually in mid-range, if you put a lot of glass, it will like bubble and do all kinds of weird stuff. So I don't know. That one's probably the best one right there. That one's the best one. And that's that green, it's like a spring water, a brand, I don't know. This is just a little Mariah test with the white that I made. Let's see. So this is, it's the same clear Pete Pinnell with a little bit of iron. It has like 2% red iron oxide. It's actually darker than what I thought it was going to look like. So that's why we test. But a little bit of iron to shift the color from the stark white, like you can see with this one, the stark white slip, which, you know, it's a good look, but it also is not always what you want. So just to warm it up. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet, if I'm going to be doing that. It's expensive to make Pete Pinnell clear because it's like 77% frit. And if you know anything about frit, that's pricey. But so I don't know if I will experiment on that level yet. This is the Mariah clay. It did get a little bit milky on the edges on the Mariah. That's interesting, but it's a good glaze fit anyway. And that's just all the like Celadons, the colorants I put in. I just kind of dabbed a bunch of different ones for that effect. This is the EM 106 clay with red slip on the outside, which you kind of can't really tell too much. So the red slip is just a terracotta base with 10% red iron oxide. So how did I make that? So there's a video on Ceramic Arts Daily that I just happened to see. They threw the dishes off the hump, which I never have good luck with that, especially with clays like terracotta. But you basically form, you know, you throw it and then you bring it back down flat, put the slip on, and then do your transfers, and then bring the bowl back up again. So that's how these were done. I like the method. And I use Colors for Earth to give a slight little bit of tint of color to the chickens. So that worked. I don't really like using transfers, but I have some from, you know, years gone by, how we do. So this is the John Gill clay. And this has the amber glaze, which is, I believe, 4% black iron oxide. A little bit of crawling occurred. That's what the white, because it's exposing the slip, but it is glazed. So it kind of is an interesting effect, though. It's something that you wouldn't think could happen, but it did. I want to do quite a lot of cactus motifs, so that's why I did that. And you know, when you put the amber on the clay itself, it will turn it more of a brown as opposed to being more like a redware. This is EM 106, and this is a incense holder. And that was done, you know, put the white slip down, then you carve this stuff out, wax it, then do a black wash. And I used some purple and I think blue underglaze as well. So that's how that was done. Looks okay, I guess. These were done the same way where I do the transfer all on the wheel. And that's just like a honeycomb. It's the amber glaze, which I really like the way that looks. I like how it came out real streaky. The slip, there's white slip underneath. So that's I kind of like when it's sort of painterly looking. These were painted on as opposed to being dipped. So I like that. That's kind of nice. It's a nice look. I could go one step further and do like an overglaze transfer onto that with like a B or something. All right, so now this is really going to get confusing because now we're into slips. So I don't have the list of what these are. So just know that I'm using the same slip, which is from a book that I'll put in the description. It's basically more of what you would call an engobe, which is like halfway between a slip and a glaze. So it has a lot of frit in it, which is kind of desirable because it will adhere better to the clay body than just a slip, just a clay-based slip. So at the certain temperatures, that frit based slip will really like be very tight on the clay body. I noticed in some of the lower, like the cone 04s I was doing, it really wasn't as durable as I want, especially like on the edges. And I know that is a problem. So this might be lavender, I think it's amethyst stain. It barely tinted it. And this is the one that's on this here, which is the red clay body base with 10% iron in it, which I had already tested this in a previous firing on the black clay from the black earthenware from Sheffield. We'll look at all the black ones. I have no idea what these colors are. Blue, green. I'm trying to decorate with slip too, but the colors are kind of hard to get them to the stage you need them to be. So that's just blue. That's probably rutile. I think it's 20% dark rutile. So that's a nice yellow. And I also have a yellow that is, and actually that's on the Arbuckle clay. So I just showed you the red clay. And that's the same one. So I've numbered them so I can look back, but I would like to do more slip decorating. So that's a stain, a yellow stain. And this is the black clay body, which is this same clay body with manganese in it and iron. It's not smooth enough, so that's not really going to work. It kind of went on rough because the manganese that I have is way too granular. It's not granular manganese, but it doesn't seem to melt, or it's too granular. It just is in a powder form. So on the red, this was just like one swipe, and I think what I'm going to do with my white is make a new batch and add very little water and deflocculate it as opposed to just watering it. It's too hard to get a good coat of it. So Arbuckle looks a little bit brown with the clear on it. Unfortunately, it's not as much of a red wear as I was hoping for. It's a more of a brown. It's the first I'm seeing of it so far. And that's the yellow stain, and that's the black. Not too happy with that, but. And the red, which is very dark maroon. It's darker here. Let me see if I have. Hold on. This is the Sheffield clay body. It got a little bit milky because this is actually the Mako glaze, but you can see how much darker the red slip is in this firing than that one. So it kind of is a little too dark now. So maybe I would need less iron in it. It's a little bit more of a maroon than a red at this point. All right, so I know the stuff at the bottom is probably the larger stuff, so let's hold on. Okay, I cheated and looked at a couple pieces already. We'll start with this. This is EM106, which is, the color is really nice. But again, this will crack and warp on you. It's quite vitrified. So I did a rutile wash with the same waxing method at the greenware stage. It has just clear I actually think I dipped the whole thing in clear, but I painted on the cobalt version first, and then dipped the whole thing in clear. So the cobalt is acting weird. It has like a strange, like, you know, blotchiness to it. And it kind of had dripped and everything, but that was a good try, I guess. Something new. I don't like doing the rutile wash or the cobalt washes because that stuff will get everywhere. So this is the Arbuckle clay. And this has the original slip I was using, which is Pete Pennell Forgiving Slip. It's nice, but the durability of it, because it does not have an, actually you can see here, right here on the edge, see that? That piece? That's the Pete Pennell slip was doing that. It was like popping off of the edges. So that's why I kind of switched over to more of a frit base. This doesn't have any frit in it. So that's too bad, but that is what I was experiencing, and I only tested it because this is a new clay body. I thought maybe it was the clay body that was the problem, and maybe it is. Maybe the clay bodies just shrink too much. But this is you know, carved in, and all the colorants in it. It got a little crazy. I was trying to keep the colors to a minimum, but it's fine. This one has the other slip on. Hopefully it's behaving. I'm going to have to see and make sure that this is the one I'm going to be testing for myself. So it has a bonsai on both sides. It's definitely easy to use the slip. Pete Pennell Forgiving Slip you can do at any stage, including bisque. This one you really have to do at, it is coming off of the edge here. So I'm not sure what to do about that. I don't understand why that happens when I'm seeing other slipware potters just dip into their slip. Is it because I need to deflocculate the slip and have it be really heavy instead of like watered down? Is that what's going on? Is it creating like weak spots on the edges? Because I would imagine if I took like something hard and tapped here, I bet it would pop off. Because in a way, I would rather use the Pete Pennell slip because it's easy to use. I don't know. So I don't know why, like the tension right there is causing it to pop off. And that's the only spot it's doing it. So I will test the durability of this with the clay and everything. Unfortunately, it is more of a brown instead of a red wear. So that's a little bit disappointing, but that by far is the best clay that I've tried. This is a refire and it clouded up. That's a different clay body that stands red. I just wanted to see if that Mako clear would hold up, and I'm giving up on the Mako stuff except for maybe the foundations. And this is just more carving. I have to kind of go through and inspect all the colors and stuff. I tried one where I colored in everything, but the blue-green is too blue because there's not enough of a contrast. And there was some crawling with that as well. So a lot to work out here. It's kind of a whole thing. So this is what the clear looks like just on the black clay. So it's kind of shifts it to a brown. I kind of thought that's what would happen. More carving stuff with some tests on the back. This is Mariah clay. Oh, this is weird. This is supposed to be a white glaze. It's really strange. It's called VC 5000. I got it from Glaze. It is very powdery. It went on like powder. I dipped it, and then like you could just push the glaze and it would just come off like chalk. And it's clear. So maybe I mixed it wrong. I have no idea, but it shows white. But it looks like a drippy, cloudy clear. I have no idea. And this is it also on the other clay body. That is really weird. Yeah, I did it on 3 different clay bodies, hoping that it was going to be a matte white. Okay, that's weird. And that's John Gill with clear on it. So that's more orangey, but it's kind of not really like a redware. I think the Sheffield clay body makes the best color redware. I don't know if I have anything nearby to show. So this is the black clay body from Sheffield with some underglaze stuff going on. It's okay. It's all right. I don't like the roughness of the carving because of the grog that's in there. And there's a cone there, and this is just the lid that goes to this that was on the upper, which is made out of the Mariah clay. It's a salt cellar. So, all right, well, I'm not encouraged by it by any means. Let me just see if I can find. I don't know. I don't have anything nearby. So if anybody knows about the whole slip on the edges thing, I'd like to know, because that's pretty much happened every time. That's why on some of the pieces, like in the previous firing, I painted it on and didn't go to the edge. I don't really like that look. I would prefer to dip, but I don't really understand why it's popping off, and it's both slips are doing it. So I don't know if it's just a fit problem or if it's just that I need to deflocculate the slip and not have it be just water. All right, so that's it for now. This was all experiment. This was nothing serious, so I guess I have a lot of figuring out to do, but thank you for watching.